Welcome to this Barisco tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to have a look at the interactions in Barisco. Interactions give you the ability to trigger an action. For example, by clicking on an object, you can make another object disappear. This tutorial will guide you through the steps on how to get started with interactions. The interactions in Barisco can be managed from the Property panel. At the bottom of the Property panel, you will find the Interactions section. Every interaction that is triggered from the selected object can be found here. In order to demonstrate how interactions work, we will use these four red buttons that will trigger the interactions. The first button brings the green rectangle to 50% opacity. The second button will rotate the green rectangle to 45 degrees. The third button will hide the green rectangle. And the fourth button will restore the green rectangle to its original state by using three actions, which will basically undo all the actions that were performed by the other three buttons. The first button has been selected, and you can see that an interaction has been added to the button. When you double click on the interaction dialog will open. Here you will be able to see which interactions are triggered by the button. The interactions dialog gives you the ability to add additional interactions and manage existing interactions. The interactions dialog has been divided into three major parts: the interaction, the target, and the actions. The interaction is what the user needs to do, for example, a mouse click or mouse over. The action is what will be done after the interaction has been triggered. In this case, the opacity action has been enabled and set to 50%. The duration has been set to 1 second. This means that the transition from the current opacity to the new opacity value should take 1 second. The delay has been set to 0 seconds. This means that the action will be triggered immediately. The target is where the action will be applied to. For example, in this case, target green is the target. Let's do a little exercise so that you can see how to add interactions. We will use the green button as the trigger for the interactions, and target blue and target orange will serve as the targets. The first thing that is important is that the target objects all have been named correctly so that you will be able to distinguish them when you need to select them from the list of targets. Now let's start by adding an interaction with two actions that will be applied to target blue: opacity and rotation. First we need to select target blue as the target. And then we will enable opacity and rotation. Next we need to give the opacity property a value, so let's use 25%. And the rotation property we will set to 120 degrees. When we start the preview and click on button green, you can see that the target blue is changing to 25% opacity and rotating to 120 degrees. Let's add another interaction, but now for target orange. This time we will add an interaction with opacity, and when the opacity transition is finished, we will make target orange invisible. To do this, we need to add a delay to the visibility action. So first we will set the target to target orange. Then we will enable the opacity action and the visibility action. The opacity property we will set to 25% with a duration of 6 seconds. Then we will set the delay property of the visibility action to 6 seconds. The reason why we need the delay to be 6 seconds is because we want the visibility to change after the opacity's transition has been completed. When we apply the interaction and look at the interaction section at the property panel, you can see that there are now 2 interactions that have been added to the list of interactions. Let's have a look at the preview to see how this looks like. When we click on button green, you will see that both target orange and target blue start at the same time. Target orange is slower than target blue, and after 6 seconds it disappears. Let's have a closer look at the available interactions in Barisco. So if I open the interactions dialog, let's see, the first group is the style group. In the style group we have opacity. With the opacity action you can of course change the opacity. You can enter a value here and of course the duration and the delay. And then we have the visibility action. With the visibility action you can of course change the visibility. You can do this by either enabling or disabling the visible property. Then we have the rotation property, which of course you can use to rotate objects. The depth action, and with the depth action you can actually change the depth of the layers, so you can bring them to front or to the back. And the next group is the environment. With the environment actions you can do things that don't really have anything to do with specific objects, like toggling the full screen. You can just enable this action here, and there aren't any settings here. But if you enable it and then click the button once, it will go full screen. If you click the same button again, it will go to the normal browser view. Then we have the navigate to page action. With the navigate to page action there are 3 possible options. That's next page, previous page, or page. And when you choose the page option you can add the number of the page that you want to go to. So for example, if I wanted to go to page 3, then I would just enter a 3 here. Then we have the sound control. For the sound control you can either choose enable or disable. The next group is the timeline, and with the timeline you can choose play at frame, which of course means you're going to play at a certain frame. So if I would have like a keyframe at frame 0, at frame 1, and a keyframe at like frame 6, then I will be able to choose those frames here. But since the current target does not have any timeline animation and also doesn't have any keyframes, I cannot choose any other keyframe except frame 0. And the same goes for the stop at frame action. Here you can also just choose a keyframe and then it will just stop at that frame. The next group is the data group. This is really advanced. You can make an object inherit the data that's on the parent object, but this is really advanced stuff, so you should look up the information in the documentation in order to work with this group. Then next is the sharing group. In the sharing group we have email. This will basically generate an email link, and when you click on this link, then the window for sharing it through email will open. You have to enter an email address here, and yeah, that's it. And then we have the sharing through social media action. Here you can choose the publication. There you'll share the whole publication. You have current window, where you will just share only the current, sorry, I said current window, but I mean current edition. You will share only the current edition. Same goes for the current page. And with media, you're actually going to share the media file from the target. So if I would select a video and then select as the type media, then I will just go and share that video. Then in the other group we have hyperlink. This basically means that you're going to add an interaction that is going to link to something. Let's say you want to link to your homepage or to maybe, I don't know, any type of other pages outside of your publication. With the download action, you can select a file that you're then going to send to the browser, and the user will then be offered to download the file. The multimedia group, you can control the video. So here you have like play and stop. You can set the video to play or stop when you click on the button, or it could be a mouse over, of course. And then here we have the track action. The track action allows you to log a certain ID in the tracking or statistics or analytics tools that you're using. So for example, if you're using Google Analytics, it will log that the value that you've entered here has been used. So for example, if I want to track that I'm going to press the red button here, then I would add this interaction to the red button. I would say like red button 3, and then I would know that red button 3 was triggered. If you would like to know more about the interactions, then you can of course read about it in the documentation. This concludes the video tutorial on how to use interactions in Barisco. Please also watch our other video tutorials on barisco.com/tutorials. Thank you for watching.